We are live. SBR Closing Line Show Saturday morning, each and every Saturday morning, 11 a.m. Eastern. We got DJ Big Boss, Big Ragoo, Ian Cameron. I am Drew Martin, breaking down the college football card. Guys, just go around the horn here. Mr. DJ Big Boss in the state of California. Happy Saturday morning to you, buddy.
Oh man, I wasn't expecting to go first, Drew. You know I gotta get us a jingle together for the show today, man. I had it in my head, but I wasn't quite ready. So I'm freestyling right now, but I'm gonna need that soul clap again. Y'all know the soul clap. You know what I'm saying? Y'all got the soul clap together. I say clap your hands, everybody. If you got what it takes. Cause this the closing line, and I'm DJ Boss, and these are the plays. Bet 'em up, bet 'em up, bet 'em up, y'all.
First blow, there you go.
All right.
You know, I'm feeling great, Drew Martin, man. Glad to be here with you guys, man. This is the most awesomest show. You know, this show right here really is gonna attach to my heart in the future, just with the amazing talent and the wonderful people that I've. You know, even though we all spread apart, you know, I can say that I've spent time with each and every one of you in real life. And it's a wonderful thing to show up here. I just thought I'd throw that in there, man.
Oh, DJ Big Boss, always good to have you, man. And live of the show, we got Brooklyn front right saying 3 white boys trying to hold down the beat. It's actually just tough to be clapping and, you know, the sound isn't always right. So, hey. It is what it is. This is a Saturday closing line show, and we're about picking winners. And DJ Big Boss will hold down the beat. Maybe another one here towards the end of the show, but we got his partner in crime here on Boss and the Sauce, Big Ragoo from the state of Florida. Welcome in, buddy.
Good morning, guys. What's going on up in Cali? What's going on in Canada? And what's going on in Vegas today? How about some winter chicken dinner stuff today, my guys? I think today is a pretty good board to be chopping up. 3 key market, 3 games that we're going to be talking about here in a little bit, and I'm always glad to be on with you guys.
Absolutely. Big Ragoo, always good to have you. Got a bunch of guys in the chat box already. Nothing Ordinary Sports saying, please cap the Liberty game. Okay, yeah, we got a bunch of degenerate specials, some big games on board, open mic section as well. So we're going to hit most, if not all, the games on the card. It's a huge Saturday card, guys, over the next 50 minutes or so. And last, certainly not least, from north of the border, at Babano on Twitter, Mr. Ian Cameron.
Yeah, who the hell needs LSU versus Auburn when you've got the real game of the day in college football? Rutgers versus Liberty, 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 Liberty. I mean, that's the game everybody wants to watch, isn't it?
Yeah, I'm into it. I mean, a Big Ten team catching 7 and a hook at home to the newest FBS member. Talk about degenerate specials, and we're not even talking about UConn, UMass yet, man. So hopefully we can hit them all here. And guys, we do have the 3 big games. We got Wisconsin, Ohio State, Auburn, LSU, and Notre Dame, Michigan. We're going to hit off the bat, then open it up to really all the games on the slate. So everybody in the chat box, feel free to chime in on what you're betting and why. OG Wham in the house. What is up? We got Boggle as well, Giggart, AM, MT13, all welcome in. Nut Flush Allen from California. Good morning to you guys. Let's start off towards the top of the card here. The big one, I believe it is at noon Eastern. We got Wisconsin. We got Ohio State in the horseshoe, 49 being the total, minus 14 in the hook here. That's the Buckeyes laying at home. Wisconsin off of the surprising losses, 30-point favorites. I believe that is the biggest upset so far year to date. Ian, you interested in getting involved in this Big Ten matchup?
Yeah, it's almost Ohio State's been absolutely incredible. I mean, every game they're winning by going away. Fields, the quarterback, looks fantastic. Defense looks phenomenal as well. They've been great on both sides of the ball. They're going to get tested by Wisconsin. Wisconsin's got a big, beefy offensive line. There's no question. Jonathan Taylor, who uncharacteristically put the ball on the ground last week against Illinois, helping lead the Illini to that stunning, and I mean stunning, what was Wisconsin laying? 28.5 points last week against Illinois. They lose outright in that game to the Illini. Certainly from a buy low perspective, it's a buy low price and number with Wisconsin. But I need more than just a buy low price to go against a team that's shown me what Ohio State has shown me to this point of the season. They have just been laying waste to teams. They have been blowing teams out left and right. You know, you could argue their schedules come up a little light at times this year. Obviously, They've played some weaker teams. Nebraska, they played them, and they haven't been what we thought they would be this season, the Cornhuskers. So there's a couple of teams in there that haven't exactly tested them the way Wisconsin will today. But, I'm not going to, step in front of the falling knife theory a little bit in this game for me, Drew. I just don't want to get in front of this Ohio State freight train at this point in time until I see any kind of sign that they're just even a little bit vulnerable, and I have just yet to see that. And I've been lower personally on this Wisconsin team than a lot of people. I think they were a little bit overvalued from beating up on South Florida, who's terrible, and a really light schedule early in the season with a couple of teams that have just proven to be really bad, and Wisconsin beat up on them. They're taking a huge step up in class. Ohio State's given me no reason to bet against them, and I know it's a lot of points. I'm not laying it with Ohio State, but I'm not pulling the trigger on Wisconsin. It would still be the favorite or nothing for me.
Favorite or pass for Ian. And Big Ragoo, what are you thinking here in the Big Ten?
Hey, what can we say about Ohio State, right? They're like a freight train, a runaway freight train. This team is unreal, like Ian said. To the gamblers, they really don't want to step in front. And that's the phrase we keep hearing, stepping in front of Ohio State. But, maybe this letdown for Wisconsin, I'm not going to say is what they needed, but, maybe they got a little bit cocky, walking around and, because they did have the number one defense in the nation. They were giving up less than 6 points a game, same type of scheduling, maybe a little light on the scheduling side of things. But I think they can create a little bit of havoc here for the Ohio State offense a little bit. Justin Fields, he hasn't really been tested on the defensive side of the ball. He hasn't had a lot of pressure coming at him. I think Wisconsin's defense is going to be the key to this game to kind of slow Ohio State. We're talking gambling. You're talking looking at the number. 14.5 points. That's over, over 2 scores. It's a big number. Like Ian says, it's definitely a big number. But I think this is going to come to the point where Wisconsin, maybe if they can apply a little pressure to Fields, we know what they're going to do with Taylor. They're going to line up on the offensive side of the ball, and they're going to try to push Ohio State down the field with Taylor and Cone. Now, Cone, I don't know if he's going to be able to stretch that Ohio State defense out. So they might, Illinois might have exposed something with Wisconsin. Maybe Ohio State goes to school on that, which I'm sure they already have. But it might be tough road for Wisconsin today. But the 14.5, that sure looks enticing. I'm going to be off the game, but I would lean Wisconsin plus 14 in the hook for sure.
All right, so maybe one opinion here on each side. DJ Big Boss, we got Wisconsin back-to-back road games plus the fact Ohio State 7-0 straight up. 6-1 ATS. Looking at the matchup pages here on SBR odds. What are you thinking, man? Can you break the tie here?
Hey, I'll tell you straight up, man. As they say, the youngsters say, no cap, man. No cap on this one, man. As a college football fan in this game right here, it's not really to be betted on. All games are not to be betted on. If you're a fan of the game, this is a game you want to watch. I'm more excited as a fan to watch this game today, being that we have this explosive Ohio State offense that has been doing really well without Myers there. Everything, any doubts you might have had on this team, they've already proved to you that, they're this good. But then you have a Wisconsin team that has now they've been through a little adversity. They got one of those. That's what happens in college football. You put your guard down a little bit, and the littlest guy will beat you, and it happened to them. So it's a couple of ways that they play that adversity. Being that happened, they can use that to build stronger, or they can be devastated by it. Now, this Wisconsin team, you're talking about a team that historically has just had a plain offense, a straightforward defense, and they pride themselves on doing things great. They do the simplest things great. And those are the type of mentalities, discipline, and stuff like that you have to, when you go into these big games like this, that's where you got to be. And they have a great defense in this one. So it's hard to say where did the 14.5 points come from. If I had to set the line in this one, I'd probably have it around 7.5, maybe 8. But this is the best defense Ohio State has faced. We've seen few moments in the first half where Ohio State struggles, on offense a little bit. But the quarterback over there, I feel he's more of a run threat than a pass threat. And I don't know how that's going to weigh with Wisconsin's defense. Are they going to be able to, contain this guy? But if they contain that guy, they shut the whole team down, and they definitely cover. But if I had to play it on the bettor's point of view and you gave me the money, hey, I'm going to take the 14.5, man. I'm going to prey on adversity. These are some top teams right here.
Yeah, DJ Big Boss, great points there. And you talk about the Badgers side; they're 6-1, 5-2 ATS, so they've been making money for their backers as well. And you start talking about their defense; they're 2-5, just 2 overs, 5 unders, so they've been playing towards the under. And guys, I'm getting all this information off the matchup pages on SBR Odds. If you're on SBR Odds. If you're not, you should be. It's the best free odds service out there. And if you click on the team names, the matchup pages will show up in the next page. You can click there right on matchup, and a bunch of stats here on both teams. You got the weather here, the best lines available, plus the injuries as well, and their schedules all right here on SBR Odds, just a click away. So make sure to be checking that out at SBR Odds to get the best of the number here.
One last point I was going to make on this game is that the look-ahead line for Wisconsin-Ohio State prior to the loss by Wisconsin to Illinois was 10-10.5 Ohio State in this game. It's now 14-14.5. So you're seeing an adjustment of 4.5 points based on Wisconsin losing to Illinois, and obviously Ohio State looking just ridiculous again last week at Northwestern in that Friday night game.
Yeah, I think it's a slight overreaction there with the 4.5. I was like on line with DJ. I had this game about 8 points, 8 at the very high number. But the look ahead, with that look ahead 10 and 14.5, that's a huge margin right there.
All right, guys, let's go from the Big Ten to the SEC here. Talking about an SEC West matchup, rivalry game here. Battle of the Tigers. We got Auburn at LSU down on the Bayou. LSU laying 10 in the hook or 11, depending where you're shopping. 58.5 the total. Big Ragoo, man. 2 SEC teams going off. I know that you know a lot about this conference. What are you thinking here in the Battle of the Tigers?
Yeah, you got the 2 Tigers going at it at Baton Rouge. Death Valley, another night game, another tough spot for Auburn, another travel game for them. If you had to put things in perspective as far as comparison goes, you have to kind of really look back at that Florida Gator game because both teams played them. And then I think the big issue I had with the Gators, I had the Tigers versus the Gators, but the thing I was worried about, that was a big number. That was 13.5, 14. Some pushed, some won. If you took Auburn, if you took the LSU. But the thing here is the thing that was I was looking at was that they weren't able to bring any pressure, and the Gators' defense is very similar to Auburn, even though they say Auburn's defense is a little bit tougher up front. But still, I would use them in comparison. They weren't able to get to Joe Burrow like one time, and Joe Burrow. He's a machine right now. He's got the like a 72% completion pass rate. LSU's averaging 50 points a game. Auburn's yielding about 17. So, something's got to give there. But I think in this particular instance, they're going to be up against it. It's definitely going to be that's going to be the main battle in the game is Auburn. Can they slow Joe Burrow down and the LSU defense? I don't think LSU is going to have too much issue with the Auburn side of things. I think they'll definitely play close with them. But to get to the number, this is one that I'm going to sit back and watch. I'm not going to get involved in this game, but I think, in my personal opinion on LSU, I think they're probably the best team in the country right now. And I've been saying that for weeks and weeks and weeks, even before, they crept up like when they were like number 8, number 7 team. But, usually they start off up in the teens and they work their way into the top 10. They just started off in a good spot this year with that RPO, and they've really excelled on the offensive side of the ball. So it's going to be, I don't think it's going to be a track meet, but I think LSU is going to put points up for sure, whether that LSU or Auburn can slow them down a little bit to make it a game.
DJ Big Boss, see you're shaking your head there. You agree with Big Ragoo in terms of liking the the LSU Tigers, that is?
Absolutely. Down there in New Orleans, I got a lot of family down there. They like to say you got to snap the head off that crawfish. You know what I'm saying? And they drink the juice out the head. They got to snap the head off of Auburn. I feel like Auburn kind of been hanging around by a string, even though on the flip side of that, they show a lot of good during adversity. They've had to come from behind. They've had a lot of stuff go on, but I'm in agreement with Big Ragoo when he says that I think LSU is one of the best teams out of here, but I don't believe 100% in LSU's offense, but I don't think I've really seen an offense this year that I like 100% because I'm down on Clemson's offense. I'm down on Alabama's offense. I just think they can be stopped. And I'm also down on LSU offense. I think they can be stopped at some point. The right team with the right coaching could definitely draw up a scheme to stop what they got going on over there at LSU. And this RPO that they running is kind of new to them. So it could be due a bump and a bruise, but not enough to take Auburn at this one as well, because they have had suffering on offense and on defense. But like I said, they overcome some of those adversity. They've gotten better when we may have doubted them. So not willing really to lay those points with LSU. That's a lot of points for offense that could go haywire on you. And at the same time, it's time to snap the head off the crawfish. And I think Auburn got to take that loss. But I don't know. The number just doesn't seem right to me to bet. But another game that definitely going to be watching in this one.
DJ Big Boss, good stuff. Yeah, it's a fun part of the country down there. A lot of partying in the Baton Rouge, Big Easy area of the world. And Ian, man, I'll tell you, looking at this Battle of the Tigers, Auburn, something Auburn fans will know is Auburn very rarely wins in Baton Rouge. I believe it's been 9 straight games where LSU has been on top of Auburn here, plus the fact Auburn has a true freshman quarterback making a start on the road. We've seen him struggle outside of Jordan-Hare Stadium. I do think Auburn has a puncher's chance just with that defensive line, like DJ Big Boss was talking about, getting to Joe Burrow and what Big Ragoo was saying. I think they have a chance there, but overall, this is an LSU offense that can make these numbers look small, man. I think LSU's the side here. I think Auburn's walking into a buzzsaw. How do you see it?
I think it's one of those situations where for LSU, if you listen to Coach O all season long, he'll tell you that this is the best offensive line that he's had, that he's ever seen, that he's ever had the chance to coach, that this LSU team has. We're going to find out how good this O-line is today up against this Auburn defensive front. They're going to have to win that particular matchup and that battle in the trenches, Auburn, if they're going to hang in this game. If they don't, and LSU's offensive line is indeed that good that they can get the better of one of the top defensive lines in the country, that's problems for Auburn, because that means LSU is going to move the ball. That means LSU is going to be punching in touchdowns, not field goals. And Bo Nix on the road is not a come-from-behind quarterback yet at this stage of his career. And you mentioned it, Drew, about, pretty good at Auburn, not so good on the road. Here we go with Bo Nix against Florida. 3 interceptions in that game. That's what I keep going back to. 3 INTs by Bo Nix in that game against Florida. He does that again in this game. LSU's going to turn those into lots of points. And he's actually fortunate Florida didn't always cash in on those interceptions. LSU with Joe Burrow, this offense has looked phenomenal. It's looking like a stroke of genius. They brought in Joe Brady to go with Steve Ensminger as like a co-offensive coordinator duo here at LSU, and it's worked. It's RPO because it's familiar to Joe Burrow. He ran this kind of offense in high school. He's talked to anybody that'll listen how much fun and how much fun he's having and how comfortable he is running this offense. And LSU's found ways at home to get the job done. Let's keep in mind, Auburn falls to Florida. LSU beats that same Florida team. Much like with Ohio State in the last big game we talked about, I'm not looking to make a big case against LSU right now. I'm just not. It's a lot of points to lay. I get that. It's probably too many to lay at this stage where the number is right now. And I respect Auburn enough at double-digit underdog. They've been good as an underdog in the past. They are 6-1 against the spread as well, Auburn. So they have been cashing tickets. But this LSU team looks like, I think Auburn's here. Let me get my hands straight here. Auburn's here. I think LSU's here. And I'm going to have to see evidence of Auburn being up here before I back them. So it's not a game I'm involved with. That's too many points to lay with how Auburn's been in the dog role. But I'm not looking to get in front of LSU. Gun to my head, I'd look to the favorite.
Yeah. Well said, Ian. And guys, we're going to talk Notre Dame, Michigan up next, and then open it up to the card. We got some guys in the chat box with some plays. Jason Kelly saying Rutgers money line today. And yes, I need a shower now after that pick. Getting real grungy there in lower FBS football. Also, Rich G saying Pitt has moved to -4 from -5.5 earlier this week. I locked it in Pitt -4. I agree with you on that, Rich. I think Miami, all those South Florida kids going up to the Northeast are going to be in for it here going off pretty soon, actually. I believe that is a 12 noon Eastern kick, which will open it up to the board and get all the 12 noon kicks in, any plays that the guys have. But first up, guys, want to talk about the Irish and Wolverines here. The 7:30 Eastern kick here. This is a big one in the big house. We got Notre Dame. This is a flip favorite, guys. And actually, this is a pretty big move here. Circus Sports, the world opener here in Las Vegas, actually opened this Michigan -4. Now we're seeing Notre Dame -1, even as high as -1.5 right now at Bookmaker. I'm using SBR odds, guys, right now, reading these lines. 49.5 the total. So a 5.5 point move here, Ian. I'll come right back to you, man. This is a big move for late October, two big schools. Do you think Circa just came out with a bad number, or what do you think's going on here? And what are you thinking about betting the Irish and Wolverines?
I'm getting a little tempted by the Michigan side now. I really do have to say that, and it pains me because I swore I would never take this team again in a big spot in a big game. After which game did I lose badly? It was the Wisconsin game earlier this season. I'm like, that's it. I'm not backing Jim Harbaugh in Michigan in big time games anymore. I'm not doing it. I've seen this movie too many times. Now I know they covered the number in defeat against Penn State. They actually played that was a really good second half out of Michigan. It's too bad they didn't play a good first half last week, or else that might have been a different result against Penn State. And I know they had the home win against Iowa. It was ugly, but they found a way. So there have been some couple decent performances from this team. Maybe that second half against Penn State where Shea Patterson finally looked a little bit like Shea Patterson's supposed to. It's been a very erratic, up and down, inconsistent season for him, for this whole offense that promised in the offseason they'd be up-tempo, they'd be electrifying, and big play offense. We haven't seen it enough consistently. Well, we'll see if they can do it today against Notre Dame's defense. Say what you will about the struggles and the inconsistencies of the offense. The Michigan defense, outside of the Wisconsin game where they got, shredded a little bit, they've played better and better in recent weeks. I thought they kept Penn State in check. They obviously shut down Iowa a few weeks ago. I like that defense quite a bit, the way they're playing. And, Ian Book and this Notre Dame offense, they're capable of going on the road and lighting it up. I don't know. Not to the point where I want to lay points with them as a small road favorite. We saw them at Georgia earlier this season. That offense really struggled. Didn't work. Didn't really move the ball with any sort of consistency to Ian Book in that game. Now, and Georgia, we've seen, obviously in the loss to South Carolina, maybe this Georgia team's not quite as good as they were last year with what we've seen out of the Bulldogs so far. And that's a team, obviously, Notre Dame came up short against. So this line's moving. I get it. I get the reluctancy to trust Michigan in a big game like this and a big opponent. I get it completely. But talent-wise, roster-wise, matchup-wise, this isn't a matchup I can lay 1.5 points with Notre Dame. And at the current number now, I think Michigan's got the value. Wolverines is the way I'd lean.
All right, looking towards the new underdog in this matchup. DJ Big Boss, talking about your team here, Notre Dame. What are you thinking about them making the trip into the big house off of a bye week?
Yeah, I ain't gonna blow the whistle though. I ain't gonna blow the whistle because y'all got on headsets and I don't want to blow y'all ears up.
Yeah, thank you.
I live for days like this. You know what I'm saying? Whenever I could get my team at a nice number, I'm all over it. But let's talk about it though. Originally coming out Michigan -4.5. How did they equate to that number? Notre Dame's coming off of a bye. We beat them last year. We played the big team Georgia well. I don't understand in the struggles that Michigan been through. I don't know. This has to be some type of computer analyst or some type of algorithm or something that they put through the system to even come up with that type of number with the opposite. And then coaching, on the coaching side of things, I mean, it's kind of safe to say that Harbaugh is just not cut out for the college game, and Kelly is perfect for the college game. So I don't know how they came up with those numbers, but hey, as a fan, I've took worse loss, and feel free. If we lose, all y'all out there, feel free to blow my DM up, call me scumbag of the world, any of that, because, I've been called worse by better. So it's no big deal. I live right near USC. They hate me around here. So it's no big deal. But, yeah, I'm definitely putting my money where my mouth is and definitely taking Notre Dame. I mean, as a fan, that's my favorite team. I follow them the most. I see most value at Notre Dame in this situation on paper, in real life. Only thing that I could say on the Michigan side is the defensive line over there has quite a few sacks. And the worst part about the worst thing can happen in this game is Ian Book totally shuts down. But Ian Book's been doing pretty good. He only threw 2 interceptions in Kelly's system. All we need you to do is protect the ball, Book. You know, if we're going to really win the game down the stretch, we might need you to come in and make a big throw. But really, we just need you to, locate the troops and get them in the right positions. And Kelly will give them the playbook to do the rest. And, I don't know if they know that Notre Dame has been suffering in the running back position. This week we just had off. We bring back some running backs that were injured. So the running game is going to be quite different than you've seen because we only had the one guy to run the ball so far. Kelly can dip into the playbook. And Ian Book hasn't really unleashed the deep ball. We haven't really found a team that we really can let the deep ball go, and he definitely has it. That was the most enlightening thing about him last year is that he had the deep ball. But this is going to be his first time playing this team, I believe, because he wasn't there for that first game. But we beat this team last year. Let's not look past that at all. Because it's the same coaches, pretty much same players, all those type of things going on. But I ain't going to blow that whistle, but it's ND all day for me.
Thank you for that, DJ Big Boss. And Big Ragoo,
Wow.
I'm with DJ Big Boss. I think Notre Dame's the side here. I jumped on it on Tuesday. Didn't get the best of the number, but got Notre Dame +1. I think we get the better quarterback, the better head coach off of a bye. How are you feeling here with the Wolverines and the Irish?
All the indicators point Notre Dame with all the inconsistencies of Michigan, the coaching angle, like DJ says, and with the past performances we've seen out of Michigan. But I think they're really a hard luck team in a lot of different ways. Michigan. Now, I usually like looking at Michigan from a better standpoint. When Michigan's a favorite, I kind of look with one eye, but when they're an underdog, I look with both eyes. And in this particular game here, like DJ was saying, they had their struggles with the running game, Notre Dame, but I think you have like 3 100-yard games back to back with these guys. So they are starting to run the ball a little bit better, which I think that helps Book, takes a little bit of pressure off of him. The problem on the Michigan side with their offense, they're just so inconsistent. They have a hard time picking up third downs. They got great receivers, great athletes when they can get the ball to them. So that's been the thing. And we talked about Gaddis with this new offense, which we still haven't seen to date. But I think they're probably a little more talented on the offensive side of the ball. They're just not able to put things together. Now, defensively, they're pretty good. Michigan is pretty good defensively. There's no question about that. They're probably like top 4 in conference overall. But I think their inconsistencies of moving the chains and their offensive struggles they've had. They might be up against it here, but getting points, I think some of the value is definitely gone on the Notre Dame side. I would lean Michigan. Matter of fact, I'm going to take Michigan plus the points here in this game.
All right, like in the Wolverines at home, the short home underdog there. Guys, those were the 3 main games we were going to hit on today's show. We can open it up right now. And if you're liking the content, guys, please give us the thumbs up sign, the like button. That does help us out. And also shout out to the chat box, reading it in here. A bunch of guys in here. Don Ricci, Red Girl, what is up? Welcome in. Kirk, Shenanigans, what is up this morning? Guys, we can open it up here to the card, what you're looking at. Any money line underdogs, any 12 o'clock games you guys want to go over? What that Miami-Pittsburgh game is here. A lot of guys talking about it in the chat, seeing Pittsburgh -4, -4.5, got 43 being the total. I kind of like Pittsburgh here, guys, being at home, short number. South Florida kids heading to the Northeast. Not great weather, not really cold, but overall, Miami just losing to Georgia Tech. I think it's kind of a dumpster fire down there in South Florida. And this Pitt defense, I think, is going to get after him. I don't see Miami doing much at all, especially injury at the quarterback position. I bet Pitt. I'm going to add some here at -4 if I can find it, -4.5. Big Ragoo, is there any games you wanted to just kind of bring up, open mic style on the card?
Yeah, I like, open mic, no best better underdogs yet. Open mic, this Hawaii-New Mexico game, I know DJ always likes to beat up on New Mexico, but I was looking at this too. I looked at that number, it was 10. I thought it was a kind of a short number for Hawaii coming over. I know on the island, off the island, whatever the scenario might be here, but I mean, New Mexico is such a bad team, on both sides of the ball. They rank towards the bottom in every category. And I talked about this game early in the week. To me, this thing, for 10 points, it seems like a cheap number for the high-power offense that Hawaii can, put points on the board. And I think they can run them up and down the field. So I think just on stats alone and Hawaii's offense versus a weak New Mexico, that's a game I'm looking at. I like Hawaii laying the 10 points against New Mexico. Any
The
thoughts on
Rainbow
that?
Warriors. Yeah. I'm with you. I think I'm really never looking to bet on New Mexico, to tell you the truth, this year. I think it's kind of a program heading in the wrong direction there under Bob Davie. I think he's on his way out. But Ian, I don't know how you feel about that scenario and any other games you wanted to bring up, bro.
Look, I'm not the first one to be rushing to lay double digits with Hawaii ever, but I don't want New Mexico. I haven't wanted New Mexico at any point this season, and I'm not going to want to back New Mexico at any point this season. So, this is if you like Hawaii, Big Ragoo, or anyone else, I can't talk you out of that. I wouldn't talk you out of that. A lot of points. I know they're tricky sometimes to trust, especially away from the island there as road favorites, but New Mexico is just terrible. And this could be a matchup where Hawaii scores with every time they have the football, without a doubt. What am I looking at for today? Memphis and Tulsa, I like the underdog and the over in that game, both. I think Tulsa's undervalued. I cashed a ticket with Tulsa last week against Cincinnati, wire to wire. They played that Bearcats team tough on the road, actually outgained Cincinnati, and maybe win that game if Zach Smith doesn't turn the football over so much against Cincinnati in that game. It was really turnovers and penalties that did Tulsa in that game against Cincinnati, but they have been undervalued, I think, a little bit. I think they might be one of the better 2-win football teams in the country right now. You look at their schedule, they played some tough teams. They played them tough. They were leading Oklahoma State in that game before they lost it. They hung tough with Michigan State on the road very early in the season. And Memphis, this is not the role I trust Memphis in. Road favorites. The last time they were road favorites, they lost outright against Temple. This is not a team I trust laying big points on the road with their defense. Tulsa's defense, I think, can get after Brady White a little bit. I still think there'll be points because I think Tulsa will move the ball. Memphis defense to me doesn't impress me. They're lucky Tulane turned the ball over every single time it seemed they had the ball last week, or else Tulane would have scored a lot more points. They had so many. They were in the red zone like 5, 6, 7, 8 times, Tulane, and they either turned it over or missed a field goal, it seemed, on so many of those times. It was ridiculous watching it. But I think Tulsa can score. Memphis can score. I like a high-scoring game there. And I think Tulsa keeps that game really, really close, especially at home. Let's not forget they almost beat SMU a few weeks ago. Give me Tulsa.
Hey, Ian, just follow-up question to that, because I was on that Tulane game. That was the biggest bet I've made so far this season, and losing with the green wave last week. I'm going back to the well, which is always tough. Sports bettors out there know when you lose a big bet on a team to go back on them the next week. But I'm doing that again against Navy. I know you watched that game against Memphis, man. I'm with you. I mean, the ball just didn't bounce Tulane's way, but at the same time, they did kind of get their doors blown off in terms of final score. Do you have any quick opinions here on Tulane versus Navy?
Yeah, I would lean Tulane. Tulane saw Army a few weeks ago, already know how to face a triple option, and did very well in that game against Army. They won going away. I think Navy, I thought Army, earlier in the season would have told me Army's a lot better than Navy. Navy's actually playing some really good football. I'll give Coach Lolo a lot of credit. I mean, that team's playing really well this year. Malcolm Perry at quarterback has run that triple option well. Even the defense has stepped up. I like that Tulane offense, though. I know last week was their ugliest, worst game. Justin McMillan was totally inept last week, unfortunately, at the quarterback position for Tulane. I think he's got a better game in him here against this Navy defense. And again, Navy's defense has been better so far. They haven't faced a ton of great offenses. I think they'll be facing a pretty good one here. So my lean is over and Tulane plus the points in this game.
Good stuff, Ian. And DJ Big Boss, we got to get you back in here, man. We were talking some Mountain West, wanted to get your opinions there. But, open up the card to you, man.
Oh, man, I'm going to spin it around real quick. What Big Ragoo said about the Hawaii game, I like Hawaii in that spot. The only bad part that leads me to the total more than the Hawaii side is that Hawaii doesn't play much defense. So, yeah, they come to score a lot of points, but they might not play much defense. But this could be like a 40, 50 something game to like 27 or 30 or something like that. So I'm on the over, but I like that plus 10 too. I might have to sprinkle a little something on that as well. And as far as Ian's game over there with Memphis, just, watch the weather report because some weather's changing all around the country right now. We got some rain in some places, some snows and all that kind of stuff. I know it's in Tulsa, but in Memphis it's really bad weather today. So just be careful with the weather. I don't know too much about the Tulsa team. I took them a couple times early in the season, but I haven't really stayed up on them, and I don't have a solid read on Memphis. And about you going back to the well with Tulane, man, that's one of the attributes to my game that I learned last year is going back to the well. And sometimes you have to do that. Sometimes you got to press it all the way out. You can be beaten harder, but, when you got a good look and, if you can look back at the game and say, hey, I'll do it again, then when you come back to the next one, you got to go back to the well, especially if you got a nice edge. But the game I want to talk about is Nebraska-Indiana game right here. So outside looking in, when I looked into it, I was leaning Nebraska. I was like, this team, the coach over there, he got something to prove. They're at home. He got to pull a win out of his behind. They're not looking as impressive as they thought they would be. They're at the point right now where, they're 4-3, and Indiana is 5-2. They could even things up a little bit right here. So it'd be a great spot for them to come out and play a great game. So that's what led me into this with the low number on that one. But as I digged into the numbers, man, Indiana on paper is very impressive. Number 31 offense, number 18 defense, only giving up 20 points a game, scoring 33 points a game. More impressive than that, they're only giving up 297 yards total offense. So I don't blame this Nebraska team that's been struggling on offense, ranked number 75, scoring 25 points a game, 400 yards a game as well. They're going against a really tough defense right here. And this is, Indiana, Nebraska, it's tough football over there. This game means something, you know what I'm saying? So I'm leaning now that I looked in the game real tough. I'm leaning hard on taking Indiana. Anybody got any opinion on taking Indiana in this one?
I'm not interested in Nebraska. I haven't really been interested in them all season. So I'm with you, DJ Big Boss. It's the Hoosiers or pass.
I agree. Indiana or nothing. Penix is actually impressed. Penix has been solid for this Indiana team quarterback-wise.
Yeah, thanks, guys. I'm going to put that in.
All right, good luck there, DJ Big Boss. Guys, we got some questions here on the 12 o'clock slate. Some guys in the chat box asking any bets they need to get in here soon. We got Liberty and Rutgers at the 12 o'clock slate. Yeah, talk about degenerate specials here. I mean, the Big Ten team catching more than a touchdown at home against the newest FBS member. Guys, looking at SBR odds right now, if you hold the cursor over Time TV, it will give you what station the game is on. This one is on the Big Ten network. Ian, are you interested in this Liberty Rutgers game or any other 12 noon games you want to throw out there before best bets?
I know they haven't just been bad. They've been embarrassing in Big Ten play, Rutgers. I totally understand it, and I get it fully. But if I'm betting this game, I'm taking Rutgers plus the points. I mean, this is a step down. They're at home. They're against Liberty. Let's not forget Rutgers in the very first game of the season. And Liberty is on the same sort of plateau as maybe not quite as bad as UMass in the very first game that Rutgers played this season. But that's the game Rutgers blew out UMass. One going away. Their offense worked. Their offense moved the football at will in that game. I think this is a massive step down for Rutgers. They don't even have to win this game to cover this number. There's no freaking way I'm laying 7.5 with Liberty. There's no way. I think Rutgers is a bottom of the barrel, buy low opportunity here. It's Scarlet Knights or pass for me.
Good stuff. And DJ Big Boss or Big Ragoo, either you guys interested in that game or any other 12 noon games?
If you want to talk 12 noon for me, I like your look with Penn on that one with Pittsburgh. I mean,
okay.
I like the Pittsburgh right there. Stay homecoming as well. It's quite a few teams. I missed a couple homecomings last week when I was doing the look at Wisconsin. I seen that it was Indiana's homecoming, and this week is Pittsburgh's homecoming, which explains the -4 against a team like Miami, which is probably considered the bigger school in those two. But I like the Pittsburgh look a lot right there. I was told in the chat though that homecomings don't mean nothing and all that kind of stuff, but as a player playing the game, the pep rallies, the extra preferential treatment and stuff they give you for homecoming definitely has something to do with it. And you're at home, and they playing a nice game against Miami. Maybe you want to jump on them in the first half as well. They should come out fired up. But I like that look on Pittsburgh.
Nice. Okay. Yeah, I'm liking it on Pitt as well. We got Ron liking it as well. And Donkey Cap'n asking if I'm taking UConn. Actually, in the UConn UMass game, I'm looking towards the over. That is another degenerate special there. 2 1-6 teams squaring off. I don't know if any of you guys have any opinion on that. And also, Big Ragoo, I were you talking about a money line underdog you wanted to throw out before best bets?
Sure. Why not? Let's look at this. Let's look at the Washington State game on the West Coast out there. Oregon. Now, traditionally, in this series, it's been a pretty interesting angle on this game. I'm sure some of our guys probably know about it. They might not, but we'll educate them a little bit. So we know the Ducks come off a big win last week in Washington. They came from behind, pretty dramatic win, left everything out there on the field. Their opponents, on the other hand, Wazoo, they've had their up and downs this year so far. They've struggled. They've given up big plays. They've lacked a little bit of defensive quality. Leach's offense struggles here and there, but for some reason, when they match up with Oregon, and this is a perfect letdown spot for Oregon, I think Washington could bring their A game, and the Mad Hatter, he could put together a little game plan to kind of take this team out. 4 years straight up, this team has beaten Oregon, Washington State. So that's a look I'm looking at. I'm looking to take Washington State plus the money, plus the points, and sprinkle something on the money line too. So that's going to be my underdog play today. Money line winner is going to be Washington State. It's a big number, but I figured I looked at the board. I like this game a lot, and I figured get rewarded if it hits. It's a nice payday.
Nice. All right. Big Ragoo. And Ian, did you have a money line underdog and any other games you wanted to throw out before best bet?
Yeah, I completely agree with that one. Actually, I like Washington. Washington State as a road dog under Mike Leach has been awesome the last several years. Going back to when Luke Falk was his quarterback, and even before that, when Gardner Minshew, the last two quarterbacks he's had, when they've been road underdogs, they've been very good in that role. It's a sandwich spot for Oregon in between Washington and USC. They play the Trojans next week. They're a good, Oregon's defense has really been pumped up by a lot of people, and rightfully so. It's a great defense. They have not faced a boatload of quality quarterbacks and offenses, though, to this point. Really, I mean, you look at their schedule, haven't faced a ton. I think Anthony Gordon and the Cougars' offense, and Mike Leach, how about this stat? 9-0 against the spread last 9 meetings head-to-head for Washington State against Oregon. 9-0 against the spread. So for some reason, this is a matchup that's worked for Washington State. They've given Oregon fits over the years. Yeah, this number feels a bit high to me as well. I would absolutely look at the Cougs in that one. When you're talking about underdogs that I'm very interested in today, I'm probably interested a little bit in Texas State, plus 11.5 against Arkansas State. Arkansas State's a banged-up football team that doesn't play a lot of defense. I think that's a bad combination right there against that. Texas State's a leap of faith. They've had a rough year, I get it, but that's a lot of points to be laying with Arkansas State there in that game with the injuries, with a bad defense. So you're looking at a double-digit dog that might have some bite. That's definitely one that stands out a bit to me. Western Kentucky getting points against Marshall. I think Western Kentucky is arguably the best defense in that conference. If they can get a little bit of offense, that's a pretty good football team, and that's always the concern, their offense. But Ty Story has actually sort of smoothed things over with this offense a little bit since he's become the quarterback. We've seen a little bit better offensive execution from the Hilltoppers. Marshall's been a disappointment to me in my mind. I know they came back to beat Florida Atlantic last Friday night, but barely won that game. They were a dog in that game. I prefer them as a dog than laying points. So I think Western Kentucky's a side that I would consider in that game with that defense the way they've played. And I think there was one more. Was there one more? Eastern Michigan a little bit against Toledo. What's happened to Toledo the last couple of weeks? I don't know. I know Mitchell Guadagni's been injured, but does that explain getting blown out 2 weeks in a row?
And they quit against Ball State, Ian.
That's the problem.
They quit.
And we know Eastern Michigan under Chris Creighton, just great in the underdog role, not so good laying points. So there's another one for you. EMU could be live as well.
Yeah, I agree with that one. And DJ Big Boss, did you want to throw out any money line underdogs or any other games before we get to best bets, man?
I play around with it. Not nothing I might not take at all, but definitely see opportunity with taking Wisconsin on the money line as well. You know, that's big money too as well.
Yeah,
I see the teams are way more evenly matched than the line says, but so I see value in that. But as far as one that I really want to ride with, I'm gonna be apologetic to the old man that I talked about early in my preseason breakdowns, and that's our guy over there, Les Miles at Kansas, who's been doing a really good job with them on the road. They believe in the system. You know, I thought it was just a little hook up on the job, you know, to get the man a little money in his pocket. Maybe he lost some money somewhere, but he went over there and he's been really making an impact on this team, especially in big games. And here he is at home, and he's a dog, and he's getting 4. So I think he shows the young guys the ropes on how to put your foot in the sand right here at home. And I think Les Miles at Kansas can pull off that money line win.
All right, good stuff, man. And guys, we have 370 people watching right now. We really appreciate you joining us each and every Saturday, 11 a.m. Eastern time. And for my money line underdog, I lost on Oklahoma State last week, but I'm going to go back to the well here. Plus 330, Oklahoma State. I know Iowa State's a very good team, but I think Oklahoma State, big plus price here, the best 3-loss team in the country. Going with that statement anyway. So I think the Cowboys plus the points and a little money line action there. But guys, really appreciate you joining us. We got best bets coming up. DJ Big Boss, Big Ragoo, Ian Cameron, myself, Drew Martin, each and every Saturday, 11 a.m. Eastern. And up until kickoff, we got to start off the best bets. Guys, I don't think I've started off yet and lost my last two. So I want to change things up. I'll start off this week. Got Pitt minus the 4, which if you shop around, you can get it. So best number here, I'm going to go with Pitt minus 4 right now. That number is available. It's really 4.5 across the board. So I don't know, how we want to be with this grading system. I should probably go with 4.5. I'll go with 4.5 and take it at Bookmaker right now. That's the Pitt Panthers minus 4.5 over the dumpster fire that is the University of Miami right now football team up in the Northeast. A bunch of South Florida kids. I don't think are in for a good adventure there. So I'd lay this short number with the Pitt Panthers minus 4.5. We got Big Ragoo down in the state of Florida. Best bets, throw it over to you, buddy.
I love this team. I haven't played them all year, actually. They're hooking them up in Texas this weekend. Texas, TCU. I know TCU, to me, they're a little stale with Patterson right now. Offensively struggle. We know they always play solid defense. But the question mark here is when we know Texas's defense is very suspect in the secondary. But I think both teams with the offense versus the defense, I like Texas to kind of stretch them out a little bit here. I don't think TCU is going to really challenge Texas too far down the field. I think they could get some solid linebacker play, keep the ball in front of them a little bit, and I don't think TCU has the weapons to kind of stretch that Texas defense out, even though they're not that good. So I think point for point, Texas is a real short number here. I think they could outscore TCU in this game. So to me, that's my best play of the day is Texas over TCU.
All right, we got Texas. Pick'em is the best number we're seeing. They are -1 at most shops. So yeah, Texas Pick'em at Heritage right now for Big Ragoo at Big Ragoo 62 on Twitter. DJ Big Boss, his partner in crime on Boston the Sauce from the state of California. DJ Big Boss, what do you got for best bets, man?
Hey, the people out there probably think I was full of shit if I put my best bet as Notre Dame. So I'm not going to put my best bet on the show as Notre Dame. I'm going to dig into one of the keys I spoke on earlier in this show is weather. So there's a lot of bad weather out there. You got to go dig and find. It's like bargain shopping. You got to go dig and find the bad weather to find some good looks right here. Now, I went over here to the Mountain West where I do it the best in this Wyoming game. We're expecting some cold, little wet weather out there in Wyoming. And Wyoming's a real physical team. They're very, very strong. They're really good on defense. And they're playing this Nevada team that's completely beat up. To my last knowledge, Malik Henry is out for Nevada for academics. So they're still struggling at the quarterback spot. I really like Jay Norvell as a person over there in Nevada, but, I think things kind of got out of his control. I watched the press conference. He's not giving up, but, he's kind of letting you know that, things are kind of haywire over there. They have to travel into this Wyoming place, which is pretty difficult to play in, period. Lucky it's not snowing out there, but it's going to be cold. It's going to be a different kind of cold maybe than they experience in Nevada. But it's going to be cold out there. Good defense on the field. I'm taking the under 43.5 in the Wyoming game.
All right, Wyoming under 43.5. Weather should be an issue there. And guys, make sure to check out SBR Odds here, the most up-to-date live odds in the industry. And check out the matchup pages as well, guys. You can really use it in your handicapping. We got the last best bet coming up. Last, certainly not least, Ian Cameron, Apabano on Twitter, north of the border. What do you got for best bets, buddy?
Before best bet, couple just non-best bets, regular bets. I agree with Big Ragoo on Texas. I think TCU is Duggan pun intended. They're dug in a grave with their offense with Max Duggan at the quarterback spot. He doesn't impress me much for this team, not much of a passer, so I think Texas can win that game as well. I like Duke. Give me Duke here, plus 3.5 against North Carolina. North Carolina's off a 6 overtime game against Virginia Tech, a game they lost last week. I think the physical gas tank could be on E. The mental gas tank could be on E. You give me David Cutcliffe as an underdog, I'm interested, especially off a bad loss. I mean, that team didn't play well against Virginia last week. I think they have a good bounce back and a better spot in them today. So I like Duke plus the points against North Carolina. And I like Northwestern getting points against Iowa. I mean, Iowa, to me, they're looking more and more pedestrian by the week. I mean, I think they started out the season great, but they lost to Michigan, unimpressive against Penn State, very unimpressive in a lackluster home showing against Purdue. They were sleepwalking through most of that game last week. Now they got to go on the road. Northwestern's offense stinks, but their defense can bottle up Nathan Stanley and that Iowa offense, which has looked anemic the last few weeks. So, and again, we're talking about Pat Fitzgerald and that dog roll. I'm always interested. So Northwestern's a look for me there as well against Iowa. But for best bet, we're going to a team that we've cashed a bunch of overs with. Finally, their first game of the season that stayed under the total last week. Oh, I like Southern Miss Rice over as well. But not the best bet is this one, North Texas Charlotte. In this one, over 64. Charlotte's defense is bottom tier. Western Kentucky's got one of the weaker offenses in Conference USA, and even they scored 30 points against this Charlotte defense last week. Mason Fine and the North Texas offense, and he's a pretty good quarterback, should be able to score a bunch of points here in this game against that Charlotte defense and pick them apart. They've given up 30, 40 points regularly. But I think Charlotte's offense will bounce back. Charlotte only got 14 points last week. They got shut down by one of the few teams in this conference that plays defense, that being Western Kentucky. That's not North Texas. North Texas is a hideous defensive team. That defense has not been any good from day one for Seth Luttrell's squad. I think Reynolds, the quarterback, Benny LeMay and company at running the football, they're going to be able to light up the scoreboard as well. Both teams play at an above-average pace offensively. They don't mind playing with tempo. Total in the 60s. Weather looks fine in Charlotte today. It will go mean green 49ers over 64 for best bet.
All right, UNT Charlotte over 64 for Ian Cameron best bet. We got DJ Big Boss on Wyoming under 43.5. Big Ragoo Texas Pick'em, and I am on Pitt minus 4.5 for best bets. Guys in the chat box, shout out to Molly Mal, OG Wham saying that he's like in CMU, the Chippewas there in the MAC. We also got Reese Dom. He's like in a couple plays in here as well, guys. So always appreciate you guys joining us 11 a.m. Eastern time each and every Saturday. Come back and join us next week, same time, same place. For DJ Big Boss, Big Ragoo, Ian Cameron, I am Drew Martin. Best of luck with your bets today, guys.
Thanks
See
for
you guys
watching
next week.